Yep, we've been asking for it for years, and The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening is finally getting a full remake for Nintendo Switch. And right off the bat, the game really doesn't seem all that different to the Game Boy original. Well, gameplay-wise anyway. But in this 29-second gameplay glimpse of the Switch remake, there's actually quite a few drastic changes hiding in plain sight. So we flipped on the old analysis machine to find secrets and hidden details you might have missed. So to start off, the trailer opens with the newly animated rendition of the classic Storm opening, but this seems to be the only segment that isn't one-to-one with the original Game Boy game. We still get classic shots like Link's vessel struggling through the storm, a close-up on his face, and of course the lightning strike. But without the limitations of the Game Boy, they were able to get far more cinematic with the remake. In fact, it takes the Game Boy version 19 seconds for this animation to finish, whereas the remake bumps it up to 27. Link seems a little warmer this time too, as unlike the original Link's Awakening, Link actually has tights on under his tunic. This is a detail that's easy to miss with the Game Boy sprite, but in all the artwork for Link's Awakening, Link is bearing it all with his bare legs. We even get a look at his tights in the in-game model. Link's also not travelling light in the remake. His little boat is now strapped with his belongings, which is perhaps a detail the Game Boy couldn't convey. But with how much they added, just look at everything they kept the same. Link still wraps the rope around his arm just like in the Game Boy art, and all the key shots change very little from the original's vision. There's even a callback to the title screen of the original game, from the panning shot of the island right down to the logo reveal. But whether we're looking at the remake's title screen right now though, I would guess not. This is completely static artwork, and while Breath of the Wild did something similar, Link's Awakening has aspects of storytelling in its title screen. The game fittingly begins with Link in bed, lending itself perfectly to the whole dream concept. But before that, the title screen shows Marin discovering a shipwrecked Link. It's possible that scene could happen after the title screen in the remake, but I'd wager this is simply promotional artwork. You guys undoubtedly noticed that Zelda's maintained the same white logo as Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and it seems quite likely that this may be a Zelda standard going forward. As for whether the logo will maintain classic elements like the sword and shield, we don't know just yet. While Link's Awakening's box art had that, the title screen looks just like it does in the remake. Anyways, enough about logos, what's new with the actual game? Well, from the offset, it doesn't look like a whole lot. Of course the game's been given a whole new style, or has it? I mean, just look at the two renditions of Link. The eyes are remarkably similar, it maintains the same vertical design of the original. Link's Awakening seems to be a very loyal remake. Heck, even the placement of flowers is now identical between the two games. What you've likely noticed though is the camera is completely different in the remake. The Game Boy's Link's Awakening worked much like the original Legend of Zelda. Screens are completely fixed in that game, but in this trailer, we never see a single screen transition. In fact, it doesn't even seem like the game ever really cuts away. As from Marbay Village, we can see a little bit of the overworld, and in the mysterious woods, we can see the fishing pole. These are all completely separate areas. We'll probably have fade-ins and fade-outs when entering dungeons and houses, but this seems like a far more seamless adventure than any other 2D Zelda. Though when I look at Level 1's mini-boss and Level 3's key cavern, we do actually see some instances of a fixed camera, though I'd bet it adapts depending on the size of the room that you're in, as every other location, even the side-scrolling section, all seem to follow Link around. This changes quite a lot, as scenes like the mysterious woods in the original would have 2 moblins on one screen, and then 2 moblins on the other. But in the remake, we can just about see 3 on screen at once. Is a 4th just off screen, or have they balanced it out for difficulty purposes? Likewise, the piranhas just outside Bottle Grotto are far more dynamic with the larger screen space. I couldn't even replicate this placement in the original game, so this new viewpoint does a lot to change things up. And heck, even A Link Between Worlds kept the screens of A Link to the Past. Speaking of Link Between Worlds, it looks like Link's Awakening has picked up a couple of gameplay refinements from that very game. Link's controls seem to be a lot more free-flowing, with more dynamic sword swipes and smoother overall movement. But we can't say for sure whether Link can actually move in 360 degrees. In fact, in this trailer, Link only moves in 8 directions. This could just be very deliberate movement for trailer purposes, or Link may very well be locked to a grid. We'll have to see about that as we see more of the game in action. But on the topic of gameplay improvements though, we saw something huge in this trailer. Watch this scene. Alright, again. Did you catch it? Link's jumping while holding both a sword and a shield. So in the original Game Boy game, you can only equip 2 items at once, and neither of them had to be your sword and shield. But with how often you have to use items like the Power Bracelet and Rock's Feather, this meant you were constantly changing items. Thankfully, with the Switch having more than just 2 buttons, we're no longer faced with this dilemma. However, there are still questions about item management. We don't see the HUD at all in this trailer. No hearts, no menus, no look at items. I'm hoping they've taken the opportunity to make many of the items a natural part of Link's moveset. I can't tell you how frustrating it is to get this slow text box every single time you touch a boulder without the power bracelet equipped. Make the sword, shield, power bracelet, Rock's feather, and Pegasus boots all mapped abilities. It'd make traversal so much more accessible, and with the exception of Rock's feather, A Link Between Worlds already does this. Now if they do that, the item menu will look kind of barren. We would only have the bow, boomerang, shovel, hookshot, bombs, magic rod, magic powder, and the ocarina. Now we could have a traditional item menu like in most Zelda games, but it'd be very cool to borrow the quick select menu from Breath of the Wild, especially with how few items there are. Just hold up on the D-pad and start flicking through them. So that's just a suggestion, but for now we at least know that Rock's feather can be equipped alongside the sword and shield. And thank God! So Link's Awakening seems to have some pretty drastic changes while keeping the groundwork essentially the same. Heck, even the dialogue is the exact same, with the owl saying, "Hoot, oh brave lad on your quest to wake the dreamer," in both versions. But the changes it does make really make this world feel more alive. I love that you can walk through Mabe Village and see several cuckoos and butterflies and foxes just dancing around. This dreamlike world has never looked so dreamlike, further emphasised by the depth of field effect in the overworld, that this seems to be absent in dungeons. Speaking of that depth of field effect though, I initially thought these zoom-ins were just part of the trailer cut, but you may notice that the depth of field moves with these zoom-ins. Watch how the flowers over here are in focus when zoomed out, and now they're all of a sudden blurry when zoomed in. Or how these blades of grass are in focus, and now they're not. Now this could just be the developer camera, or maybe we can zoom the camera in manually. I guess time will tell, but this would be a really cool feature. Oh, I forgot the most important change! They moved Marin a little bit. Huge change! This game really is a dream come true, quite literally, and we can't wait to see more of it down the line. From everything we've seen, it's not just a visual remake of Link's Awakening, they're modernising aspects that were limited by the Game Boy's hardware. But do you know what a remake of Link's Awakening really means? It means we're gonna get Wart in 3D, baby! Also, how's the printing gonna work? Does the Joy-Con have a secret printer built in? It better. Anyway guys, that's all the analysis machine could pick up today, but we're far from done with our direct coverage. Keep an eye out for more videos just like this in the coming days, and of course let us know if you spotted any details that we missed. Thanks so much for watching, and of course be sure to subscribe to Game Explain for a lot more on Link's Awakening, and other things gaming too. Until next time, bye.